Let's get straight to the point. Number 8, the Roman vomitorium. You've probably heard the nasty rumors about ancient Roman feasts, right? The story goes that rich dudes in togas were such massive gluttons that they'd stuff their faces until they literally couldn't take another bite. Then they'd waddle off to a special room called a vomitorium. Apparently, this room existed solely so they could puke it all up and make room for round 2. It's a gross image of peak decadence, like a frat party gone wrong in 50 BC. But here's the actual buzzkill. It's total nonsense. A vomitorium wasn't a designated puke palace at all. The real definition is way more boring. In ancient Rome, a vomitorium was just an architectural term for the wide entrance passages in big amphitheaters, like the Colosseum. They were designed to let huge crowds exit quickly without a bottleneck. The word comes from the Latin vomere, meaning to spew forth. It wasn't spewing half-digested grapes, it was spewing thousands of noisy sports fans onto the street after a match. This myth didn't even show up until the 1900s because some writers saw the word and assumed the grossest interpretation. Romans were definitely intense, but they didn't build special closets for hurling. It's just a big exit door. Imagine that. Efficiency over gluttony. Kinda ruins the vibe.
Number 7, the horned Viking helmet. Imagine a Viking in your head right now. You're seeing a big, bearded guy with a helmet that has giant horns sticking out of the sides, right? Well, congratulations. You've been fooled by 19th century opera costume designers. There is zero archaeological evidence that Vikings ever wore horned helmets into battle. Think about it. Why would you put 2 massive handles on your head for an enemy to grab or hit with an axe? It's a tactical disaster. The real Viking helmets were simple, iron, bowl-shaped things designed to actually protect you, not look like a cow. The myth started in the 1870s when Richard Wagner staged his ring cycle operas. The costume designer, Carl Emil Doppler, thought horns looked mythical and scary. Since then, every movie, cartoon, and sports team has just rolled with it. Physics shows that a horn would act as a lever, snapping your neck if a heavy blow landed on it. Not exactly warrior energy, is it? These guys were master navigators and fierce warriors, not fashion victims wearing heavy, useless protrusions on their skulls. So, next time you see a guy in a horned hat, tell him he's dressed like a Victorian theater prop, not a real Viking raider. It's time to stop letting opera dictate our history books.
Number 6, the Great Wall from space. Pop quiz. What is the only man-made structure you can see from the moon with the naked eye? Everyone loves to shout, "The Great Wall of China!" like they've personally been up there. It sounds epic, a massive stone dragon so huge that astronauts can wave at it. Well, I hate to burst your orbital bubble, but that's a total lie. This myth started in the 1930s, decades before we even had rockets. Writers just assumed something that long must be visible. But here's the basic physics lesson. The wall is long, but it is not wide. It's only about 25 feet across. Seeing it from the moon is like trying to see a single human hair from 2 miles away. Not happening. Even from low Earth orbit, it's incredibly hard to spot because it is made of stone and brick that match the color of the mountains. It basically has built-in camouflage. Astronauts from NASA have confirmed they could not see it without a high-powered lens or perfect lighting. You're actually more likely to see highways or airport runways because they contrast better with the ground. The wall is amazing, but it is not a cosmic landmark visible from the moon. If you want to see it, just buy a plane ticket, not a rocket. It's long, but definitely not visible.
Number 5, the brutal Iron Maiden. Have you ever seen those terrifying metal cabinets lined with sharp spikes inside? They are called Iron Maidens, and the story goes that medieval torturers would shove people inside for a slow, agonizing death. It's the ultimate symbol of the Dark Ages, brutal and totally metal. But here's the crazy part. The Iron Maiden never actually existed in the Middle Ages. There isn't a single record of one being used before the late 1700s. In reality, these things are just 19th century hoaxes. History shows that collectors basically glued together spare parts and old metal to create fake torture devices to sell tickets to tourists who wanted to feel superior to their primitive ancestors. Think about the physics. A spike through the eye or heart would kill someone instantly, which is the opposite of what a torturer actually wants. They wanted information, not a quick cleanup job.
Scientific analysis of these museum pieces shows they were built using modern tools that didn't even exist in the 1200s. It was basically a cabinet of curiosities scam. People in the 1800s loved a horror story, and museum curators were happy to lie for cash. So the Iron Maiden isn't a relic of a dark past, it's just a fake Gothic prop. It's about as historical as a plastic lightsaber at a Renaissance fair.
Number 4. Ben Franklin's lightning strike. Think about the most famous science experiment ever. Ben Franklin standing in a thunderstorm with a kite and a key. We've all seen the paintings. Lightning hits the kite, sparks fly from the key, and Ben just smiles like he's having a great hair day. It's a cool story about the founding fathers being geniuses, but let's look at the actual physics. If a real bolt of lightning, which packs about 300 million volts and enough heat to turn sand into glass, had actually struck that kite, Ben Franklin would have been instantly cooked. He would have been Benny fried before you could even write a witty almanac entry. In reality, he wasn't hit by lightning. He was flying the kite under a storm cloud to collect ambient electrical charge from the air into a Leyden jar. He didn't want a direct hit. He wanted to prove lightning was electrical in nature. Plus, he was standing inside a shed to keep the silk string dry, because wet string would have conducted that fatal current right into his heart. If he had done what the legend says, the US $100 bill would just be a picture of a smoking pair of bifocals. He was a smart guy, not a suicidal one. Science is about observation, not becoming a human lightning rod for the sake of a cool painting. So yeah, he discovered electricity's nature, but he did it without becoming a crispy founding father.
Number 3. Einstein failing math. You've probably seen those posters telling you that Albert Einstein, the smartest human ever, failed math as a kid. It's the ultimate don't give up story for every student struggling with basic algebra. Well, I'm here to tell you that your excuse for failing is officially dead. This myth is total garbage. Einstein didn't fail math, he was a child prodigy. By age 15, he had already mastered differential and integral calculus. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, most adults don't either. When Einstein saw an article claiming he failed math, he laughed and said, "I never failed in mathematics." The rumor started because he failed an entrance exam for a Swiss college, but here is the kicker. He aced the math and physics parts. He only failed subjects like French and botany because he didn't care. He was a total physics nerd, not a gardener. So next time you fail a test, don't use Albert as a shield. He was a prodigy who knew how to solve for X. You're just going to have to study harder. Stop lying to yourselves to feel better about a bad grade.
Number 2. The 10% brain myth. You've seen movies like Lucy, where a magic pill unlocks the other 90% of your brain. Suddenly you can speak Chinese and control gravity. It's a great way to sell tickets, but scientifically, it's a total lie. The idea that we only use a tiny fraction of our gray matter is a massive myth. Here is the reality. Evolution is stingy. Your brain is an energy hog, using 20% of your body's energy while only being 3% of your weight. If we weren't using the rest, our bodies would have ditched that useless weight ages ago. Modern neuroscience, using fMRI scans, shows that every part of the brain has a function and is active almost all the time, even when you're sleeping. There isn't some secret attic of untapped potential waiting for a pill. If you actually only use 10%, brain damage would be a minor inconvenience instead of a tragedy. People using this myth are just trying to sell you sketchy self-help courses or brain-boosting supplements that are just overpriced dirt. You're already using the whole thing. If you feel like you're only at 10%, that's not a biological limit. It's probably just a lack of sleep or too much scrolling. You have the hardware, you just gotta use it. Number 1. The slave-built pyramids. If you've watched any Hollywood epic, you've seen the image. Thousands of starving slaves being whipped into submission while dragging massive stone blocks across the desert. It's the ultimate picture of ancient cruelty, but it's actually a work of fiction. Here's the deal. Archaeologists found the tombs of the pyramid builders right next to the monuments. Slaves wouldn't be buried in honorable graves near a god king. These were skilled, paid laborers who were proud of their work. We found receipts, literal ancient HR documents, showing they were fed a diet of prime beef, bread, and beer. They even got medical care for on-the-job injuries like broken bones. Imagine that. Ancient Egyptian workers had better union perks than some people do today. This myth was mostly spread by the Greek historian Herodotus, who probably made it up to sound dramatic. The pyramids weren't built by a miserable workforce, they were a massive national project. It turns out that 4,000 years ago, if you wanted to build something that lasts forever, you didn't use slaves. You hired the best pros and paid them in steak. The real history is way better than the movie version.
So, if you're feeling enlightened or just slightly annoyed that your history teacher lied to you, do me a favor. Smash that like button. Share this with your smartest or dumbest friend, and hit subscribe so you don't miss our daily reality checks here at Coolest Dude Explains. We post every single day to keep your brain from rotting with more myths. Stay cool, stay skeptical, and I'll catch you in the next one.